What is up, everyone? Thank you so much for joining and watching this review. I am fresh off Alien Isolation. I just watched the ending 6 minutes ago, 8 minutes ago, and I want to review the game. So, this is Alien Isolation from 2014. There might be some spoilers. I might talk about some as we go on. If this is your first time watching one of my reviews, I review off of 11 different categories: graphics and visuals, gameplay mechanics, story and narrative, audio and sound design, replay value, difficulty and balance, world design and exploration, performance and technical stability, community and multiplayer, innovation and originality, and then hours versus dollars. It is a scale of 1 to 10 per category, and then we'll add them all up and get an average across the board, and that will be its overall score. Without further ado, let's hop into graphics and visuals. Um, the game had a lot of very beautiful scenes. Again, it came out in 2014, so it's a 10-year-old game now, which is absolutely crazy to say the 2014 game is 10 years old. So we're not getting like Unreal Engine 6 graphics. With that being said, though, they're not bad. Some of the areas are a little bit more, I don't know, not as stunning. But anytime you get to see space and the planets and you're out on in your spacesuit, like it's amazing. And I absolutely love the visuals while you're trying to blow up the core and all those the lightning current shooting through. It was really cool. Um, Art style was good. Aliens were scary. I definitely felt like they were well made, very reminiscent of the movie. They're terrifying. They look terrifying. When you get to the point where the eggs are there, they look exactly what you'd want them to. They sound, like I will say, I know we're gonna get to audio and sound design, but this game's sound is phenomenal. We're gonna go graphics. Comparing it to things that were out around 2014, because I'm not going to compare it to a new age game, right? I think they're great. We're going to go a 7.5. Gameplay mechanics. So how I wrote this is how smooth and intuitive the controls are, the complexity and depths of gameplay systems, and the overall enjoyment of playing the game. This is a really tough one for this game. So I play all games on hard difficulty my first playthrough. So that, just know that going into this review. I felt like the gameplay mechanics were fair for the most part, but I really struggled in some areas really understanding like what the range of the alien is, what areas I can hide and he's not going to find me, what areas I can't hide. If I'm in the same room behind one thing, he doesn't see me, but if I'm in a room hiding behind something similar, he does see me. All the hacking stuff, the computer stuff was kind of mid. I got over it pretty quick. It was cool at first, and I was like, okay, well, I guess we're just repeating the same process over and over again. Um, I do like from the movie the little scout radar. I didn't find out until like 80% through the game that it's showing you where your objective's at. That would have been cool early on. Um, the interactions with the AI, if you know anything about kiting in a video game, they were pretty dumb, and you really didn't have to do much with them. You just run them around in a circle. The human interactions were interesting. Playing on hard, if they got the first shot, you're dead. So I mean, realistic. I enjoyed that, but they are very few and far between interactions. Overall, I had fun playing the game, but there was some issues with difficulty and balance. But I don't think that should play into gameplay mechanics, and so I'm gonna also give this a 7.5. Story and narrative. I sat here this whole time being fresh off the ending, and I have gone the route of loving the ending. Reason being is like it ties in a lot of stuff from the Alien franchise. Obviously, you get more of the depth between Ripley, OG Ripley, and her daughter. I think that's great. They got to explore some of the engineer Prometheus stuff a little bit. I thought that was phenomenal. Um, I like the story through and through. I also, in the midst of playing, I wasn't too pumped about the whole every single thing is falling apart and you have to backtrack over and over again. But I mean, that would be the reality, right? That would be the reality of a situation like this where everything's fucked and nothing's going to go right. It really isn't. Like you're going to be fucked every single turn you take. There was emotional parts. Everything with Ricardo was really sad. Watch like when you turn that corner and you see the face hugger on him, you're like, wow, that's fucked up. Um, what Samuel's his sacrifice was emotional. The betrayal of Taylor and was it Marshall, like you understand what Marshall's doing because he even says like your mom would have done the same thing because the impact on humanity, like the company and they want to have these aliens to study because it thinks that they think they can make them immortal, so they send these people out to try and gather the DNA and all this type of shit. But then when people have interactions with the aliens and see how fast they can reproduce and take over an area, and they're just completely like, you're not going to kill them, right? Like, I mean, you can. They're in aliens. They shoot a bunch of aliens, but if that were to get back to planet Earth, it's gonna wipe everything out immediately. So like, he's willing to sacrifice himself for humanity, and it's one of those ones where like they paint him as a bad guy, but he's really not a bad guy. He's doing what's best for humanity. I loved the story. The dialogue was great. There was lots of hidden places to get more story about the Sevastopol Station and all that. Big fan of the story. Giving it a 9. Audio and sound design. I love the audio and sound design in this game. It was so good. There was so many scenes with alarms going off, the noises from the alien, the eggs, the face huggers like clanking on the ground chasing after you, the outside in space, like all of the sound design in this game was top top quality. I haven't played a game in a while where I was so involved in the sound design. The music was good when it intensed up. The voice acting is great, and they got Sigourney Weaver to either write off or do lines for the game, which is just fucking cool, right? Like the Queen is doing lines, like that's amazing. The atmosphere was great. I am giving it a 9.5. It was as close to perfection as you can get. Replay value. The extent to which the game encourages replayability through multiple endings, side quests, new game plus, multiplayer modes, other factors. Um, I do not see myself wanting to pick this game up and play it on their absolute hardest difficulty. That's just me. I I have a lot to say about the difficulty and balance on this next one. I that personally sounds like hell to me. However, I do imagine that there's still a lot of things that I could go in and get out of the game through consoles that I probably missed. There's ID collectibles that I assume I didn't get all of them because I didn't get an achievement for it. Um, there's definitely replay value there. There is DLC, which I am going to add to our list of games to play, to come back and play to. So I'm excited for that. And then there is going to be a new Alien game coming soon. So I'm going to give replay value a 6 for me. I don't see myself going back and playing it and no desire to do so, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. I can see why people would. Difficulty and balance. I do have a lot to say about this. And I'm gonna sum it up in not too long of an explanation. I did not like the difficulty in the game. I didn't. Um, Strictly because there were so many gaps of difficulty and balances. Specifically, the first med bay experience, and then that last maybe like hour with going and trying to switch on that door, and then the generator going out. Um, I felt that it was so overly difficult compared to the rest of the game. Now, granted, early on with the med bay, I didn't understand all the mechanics. I didn't know the flares would distract him. I didn't know the noisemaker would distract him. I wasn't using the tools that were on my tool belt. That's my fault. But I did feel like there was just portions of the game where I am walking through with zero issue, and then abruptly like, okay, now it's just going to be hard as fuck. Um, I like my difficulty to be balanced through the whole thing. It just didn't. I just didn't really enjoy that. Like, one scene takes me an hour to do, and then I can run through like 6 hours of the game with no issue. It just either be hard all the way through or be not hard all the way through. Having difficulty spikes like that really took me out of it and made me not want to play. Um, Maybe for other people it's fun. For me, I felt like that was the weakest part of the game. And I am going to give that a 5.5. World design and exploration, the richness and detail of the game world, that diversity of environments, and the sense of discovery and exploration offered to the player. I loved the world design. I do, like, or lack thereof world, because we're on a space station. Um, I felt like it was very valuable to explore. Resources were limited on the higher difficulty. Just like any horror type of game, there's going to be, that's kind of like the scale changer for horror games. The monsters and creatures will notice you more easily, and you don't have unlimited supplies at your beckoning call. Um, Anytime I had the ability or the option to look out the windows to just see the scenery, I did. It, being on a space station is just fucking cool. The vent systems, even though they got a little monotonous near the end, was still a cool take on it. I really felt like my inner Newt was coming out. Shout out to Newt, coolest character in any sci-fi movie ever, and or hardest motherfucker in any sci-fi character ever because she survived on that ship as like a 7-year-old by herself. Shout out Newt. I mean exploration. There's not like tons of area. It's not like an open world. It's open world, but it's not like a Grand Theft Auto where I can go explore all this shit and find cool stuff. But I did feel like I wanted to look in, different areas for more story and whatnot. So we're gonna give that a 7. Performance and technical stability. So how well the game runs technically, including factors such as frame rate, loading times, optimization across different platforms, and the absence of bugs and glitches. I mean, we saw some bugs and glitches. We got stuck in a couple save loops, but that wasn't necessarily the game. That was more me trying to maybe cheese a little bit. I just don't really feel there was many glitches in the game. I mean, maybe a couple like visual, like things like, tearing through the screen, but nothing that like to write home about. Frame rate was fine. Loading times were a little, but not like I didn't feel like I was sitting there like Skyrim, like Jesus Christ, like can you fucking chill with the loading screens? Um, Everything performed well. Like there was nothing that made me go, eh. I think there was one moment where I was kind of like, well, this is dumb, but I mean that happens in games, right? So I'm gonna give that a 7.5. Community and multiplayer. There is no multiplayer in this game, so we're gonna not factor this one in. Innovation, originality. So the extent to which the game introduces fresh ideas, innovative gameplay mechanics, or unique twists on existing genres, contributing to its overall creativity and distinctiveness. It's tough because like being someone who is a big fan of the horror genre, there wasn't anything new here that I really felt like was genre breaking, but they did everything really well. You know, the feeling of hopelessness with the alien is is a 10 out of 10. There's never a point in that game where I felt safe. Um, I did like that there was multiple things that you had to worry about. You know, at any corner there could be AIs, humans, and aliens all wanting to kill you. I did enjoy that. I also enjoyed them highlighting that the alien was smart enough to know that the AI was working alongside them. So they almost had this like symbiotic relationship of, you know, hey, I'm not gonna kill you because I'm not gonna eat you, and I can't use you to reproduce, right? And you're also like in a weird way keeping me safe, so they wouldn't kill the aliens. But anytime there were other humans and the alien was there, it was just the alien would just murder me. So I really do like that. I loved the ending. The more that I sit on the ending, the more that I go through this review, the more I love the ending. Just no hope and happiness for anybody, which is always good. So we're gonna give this a 8. I think that's fair. Not nothing or there wasn't a lot of original ideas for the horror genre, but being an alien game, I feel like they killed it. And hours versus dollars, I don't know how much this game is nowadays. I got it on the Epic Game Store for free. We probably put in. I guess we can. Let me quickly pull this up and see if it will tell me how many hours installed. Does it show me? I played 20 hours and 29 minutes of the game. And that's not collecting everything. And, you know, I'm sure if you wanted to run through another playthrough, you get another, on the hardest difficulty, probably going to be another 30, 35 hours. Um, I assume the game's probably 20 to 30 bucks now. I think hours versus dollars great. We're going to give that a 9. So let's get our handy dandy calculator out here and get ourselves our score. 7.5, 7.5, 9, 9.5, 6, 5.5, 7, 7.5, 8, and a 9. And of course, divide that by 10. Overall score. 7.65 out of 10. I'm happy with that. Anything above a 7 in the way that I do reviews is a win. I mean, that means the game is above average, right? 8 is amazing, 9 is god tier, 10 will never happen, right? If there's a 10 out of 10 game, it's one of the best games ever made. So 7.65, I'm pretty happy with that. Again, like, this one is just for me. That probably is not accurate for most people. So if that's a 7 or an 8, that's going to bump the score up. I'm sure some people would love to replay this game over and over again. Not for me. I don't think I would enjoy playing it again. And, you know, graphics and visuals, probably something you could argue. I don't think anyone could argue the gameplay mechanics. It's smooth, but it's not the most enjoyable. Over doing the same thing over and over again. And everything else, I think, is a fair score for it. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and have a great rest of your day. Peace.